Hi, when I was little, my mom used to make these rice balls for us, and they were always very tasty. And I think part of the reason they were so appetizing is they were the shape of balls. And hers would usually be rice and lentils, or sometimes rice and potatoes, or something that we call bortha, which is like a Bangladeshi paste. So it might be a paste of coriander mixed with rice, and that would be rolled into balls. And so right now, I need something really quick for the kids. We were away in the Bay Area this past weekend, and we just got back, and I haven't had any chance to go grocery shopping. So really, what I need to do is use whatever I have on hand to make dinner. And I did have a leftover butternut squash. So far, the kids haven't been the biggest fan of butternut squash, and I think it may be a textural thing. I thought they would like it because it is so sweet, but they have not loved it as much as I would like them to. So I'm thinking if I take my butternut squash and I use leftover rice that I have and I make these little balls that I cook up in the oven and they're savory and they're crunchy, the kids may appreciate butternut squash. So I'm going to give that a go. And how I'm going to start is I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees, and I'm going to take one butternut squash and I'm going to make several pokes, or just with a knife, just pierce right into it, maybe 5 or 6 times. Place it on a baking sheet and bake that for about 40 minutes to about 60 minutes. You may want to flip it over at the half-hour mark and let it continue cooking. I generally don't cut my butternut squash in half because I'm terrible at cutting squash. The outer skin is so thick that many times when I use a knife, I am in fear that I'm gonna lose a finger. So I don't think it's worth it. I just go ahead and roast the entire squash whole. And so while my squash roast, I want to add some flavors to my butternut squash. And since we aren't vegetarian, I'm going to go ahead and cook 2 pieces of bacon. And I already did that actually. I cooked 2 pieces of bacon, and here it is. It's cooked, and I have probably about a tablespoon's worth of bacon fat left in my frying pan. This can certainly be done vegetarian by just using some olive oil and leaving out the bacon completely. And so what I'm going to do is in that skillet with a little bit of bacon fat, I'm going to cook down about 1 onion that I diced up right here. And I've got 4 cloves I'm going to add once my onion have got light brown and softened. I'm going to cook these down. And at that point, if I had a bunch of kale, I would have food processed it and added it to my mixture of onions and garlic. I notice when I do that, it takes away a lot of the bitterness in the kale, and the children don't seem to mind it. But I unfortunately don't have any kale in hand, so I'm going to omit that. But if you do have kale, I do recommend that you go ahead and add that. So I'll be right back with a roasted butternut squash and my onions and my garlic all cooked. Okay, I am done cooking my butternut squash on my cast iron skillet. So what I did next is in my food processor, I food processed that mixture of butternut squash, onions, and garlic until I got a really good smooth paste. And then I emptied it out into a large bowl, and I added about 1.5 cups of rice. I had rice in my refrigerator that was old and kind of mushy. It was a failure at making rice last week, and so I went ahead and I added 1.5 cups of that rice, and I took my bacon and I crumbled it up and I added my bacon, and I also added a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. That's optional. You can leave that out to make this vegan if you also leave out the bacon. And then I added about a pinch of paprika, and I also added some salt and pepper to taste. And so I ended up with a mixture that's sort of like this. It's a little loose, but it will hold together in ball shapes. And I'm going to make 1 tablespoon size balls. I went ahead and I tasted this for the seasoning, and it tastes really good right now. It tastes actually so good that I would probably eat this just the way it is. But for the kids, I'm going to make little balls. And I also took about 1/3 cup of panko breadcrumbs, and I added 3 tablespoons of a very ground Parmesan. I mix it together, And so I'm going to take a tablespoon of my mixture. I'm going to roll it into balls like this. And it is pretty wet. Into balls, just like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and roll it. And I'm going to place it on a foil lined baking tray. I'm going to bake these at 350 for about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead and maybe broil them to get a nice crunch. I was able to roll 28 of these little balls. I rolled out 20, I took a little tablespoon and I went ahead and I scooped out a tablespoon sized ball into my palm, and I formed the ball by gently tossing that tablespoon mixture from hand to hand. And I gently formed a little ball that I went ahead and I rolled it. And right now I have all of those little butternut squash balls in the oven, and I'm really excited. I was tasting the mixture before I baked it, and it's pretty delicious. The bacon does add a nice crunchiness to that nice soft butternut squash ball. So I think it'll take 20 minutes to cook, but I'm going to check on my balls in about 10 minutes, and after that I'll check every 5 minutes until they're done. And at the end, they're probably going to need to be finished off in the broiler to get a nice crunch. So I'll be right back. Well, I'm happy to say that the kids like the butternut squash. I didn't get any complaints. They finished their butternut squash balls. We named them troll balls. And I think all the kids want seconds. So I'm really happy. And just to let you know, I baked these at 350. And then I went ahead and I broiled them for about 1 minute on high. And then I went ahead and turned my baking tray. Baked them for another minute on high, and flip my baking tray, and did it again for 30 seconds, flip my baking tray, and did it for one last 30 seconds. So it was 2 minutes under the broiler. I should say 3 minutes actually. 3 minutes under my broiler. And I made sure that I rotated my pan so they did not get too burned. And they're crunchy on the outside, and they're nice and soft on the inside, and the balls hold up quite well. First, we want to show you what these look like, and here they are. They're brown and they're crunchy. And girls, do you like butternut squash now?
Yeah. And I want it, Mommy. I want it.
You want more? Okay. Well, I'm gonna go serve up some more. Okay, we'll eat some more.